Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook so you can stop guessing, start healing, and finally feel like yourself again. No more one size fits all approaches, just real answers, deep rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to the show. Hello, Miss Megan. I'm so excited to have
Hello.
this beautiful light on the show. She is just a wonderful person, a wonderful coach, and she's actually a founder and CEO of Fitness Uncharted, her health and fitness coaching company, and also the host of the Muscle Makeover podcast. She has over a decade of experience as a nutrition and body transformation coach whose mission is to help other women achieve their dream body, optimal health, and food freedom. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I've loved
Excited here.
doing I've loved doing our podcast episodes. Shannon's been on the Muscle Makeover a couple times, so it's always so much fun.
It is so much fun and to bring different viewpoints to, when I've come on your show, we've talked a lot of like cycle singing and hormone stuff. And I'm excited for you to come on the show and talk a little bit about body set point and kind of this theory around, what your body is capable of doing and changing and what that really means. So I'm going to kind of first, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, maybe talk about kind of how you got into this, and then we'll kind of dive into the main topic.
Yeah. So, like Shannon said, I started my company, Fitness Uncharted, which is a women's one-on-one fitness and nutrition coaching company. And we're really focused not only on the body transformation piece, but also food freedom and improving your relationship with food. And the reason I started my company, like a lot of coaches or a lot of people in the health space, oftentimes it's because we started from a not so great place oftentimes, and for me, my background was binging and restricting, and most of the women, or a lot of the women I work with, have had or currently have that same background, and maybe a lot of the people listening to this have been there or are there right now. 90s baby, grew up in diet culture, watched my mom go through all the diets. And then for me, I was, in the skinny era of, I thought I needed to be you know, a certain weight on the scale, a certain body size. I also danced growing up, so that didn't help that perception. I'm also a good 5'9", 5'9" girl, so I'm not naturally a small human. So I was trying to make my body as small as possible, but that led to a lot of the binging, restricting kind of relationship with food, because I would try to restrict to be as small as possible. And then that didn't work so well for me. So I would binge at night and then just repeat the cycle. And I really threw a lot of cardio, a lot of activity and exercise at it to try to maintain. But I was just barely maintaining. And I was like, how am I not feeling more fit and healthy and lean and muscular when I'm working out so much and restricting so much of the time?
Mhm.
Um, I was just trying to survive. I was definitely not thriving. So then fast forward to where I started to actually nourish my body instead of looking at, food in the form of restriction. I was like, okay, how can I nourish myself? How can I get stronger? I started incorporating more strength training. I started eating more food more consistently, focusing on protein, all those like tangible things, right? But then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually feeling better. And my relationship with food is improving. I'm realizing food is not the enemy. It's actually helping me. And as I'm focusing on those things, my body composition is actually improving. And I'm like, how is that possible? And I actually shared this with Shannon prior to recording this episode, but that's where I gained, 30 pounds from my high school weight to over 30 pounds to where I am now, and plus more because I'm pregnant right now. But
No.
but so that doesn't count. But if you had told me, in college that, for me to be post grad where I am now, I'd have to gain 30 pounds to get there, I would have not have done it. And we were joking that you couldn't have told me or convinced me by
Mhm.
saying you're going to be happier and healthier and
And look
leaner
better
and look
and
better.
leaner.
Basically, yeah, just hitting on all cylinders. You feel great and look great, but you're going to be 30 pounds heavier.
Mm.
I wouldn't have done it because I was so focused on that scale number as my,
Mhm.
I don't know, my value or my progress tracker. And once I stepped away from that, is where like the body recomposition and the food freedom came. So that is something like I want to help other people and specifically other women who may be going through that binging restricting cycle or just like not able to achieve the body composition goals, but help them reach that food freedom piece and their body composition goals at the same time because you can do both and hopefully doing it in a shorter amount of time than it took me. So,
Mm. Yes, that's the magic of, coaching is just expediting this process and showing your body that it needs something different than what you thought. I was that same person, binge restrict, like didn't understand. If you would have told me, well, you have to eat 1,000 more calories and you might be up 20 pounds, but you're gonna look better, feel better, have healthy fertility and healthy cycles and no PMS, but I would have been like, but 20 pounds, right? And that's our clients here,
yeah.
but 20, but I promise you're gonna feel great. But yeah, I think that's incredibly important to do it in a right way. And I think what would be interesting is for maybe some listeners, what really does food freedom mean? Like people might hear food freedom, but what does that actually kind of mean?
Yeah, I look at it as like your relationship with food. And do you feel like you're a slave to your food where it's like you're always like, we talk about food noise a lot now too, especially with the, injections and weight loss stuff right now. And people talk about trying to get rid of that food noise. That's one component, or could be, maybe you're just like, you're always thinking about food, or you're always just thinking about restriction, or you feel like you can't go out to eat with your friends or go to date night with your husband without food guilt because you ate off plan, or you can't stick to a diet and really it's not you, it's the diet's too restrictive. It's all those things that just create this guilt or shame or restriction around food. And it's like if you look amazing but you feel that way, is it actually worth it? I think it's funny slash not funny. It's comical because it's
Yeah.
not funny. But does the cookie taste as good as skinny feels? Like that whole, thought process. And I'm like, the thing is you can feel amazing and eat the cookie. And
100%.
that is what I want women to be able to experience and understand. So that's what I mean when I say food freedom. I'm like, that's where you feel like you can maintain your body composition year round. You can enjoy holidays, vacations, birthdays. You can have the piece of cake with your son at his birthday, like,
Mhm.
and not even have to think twice because you have that food freedom. And that's like your 10 to 20%. The rest of the time, 80 to 90%, you're eating nutrient dense whole foods. You know how to eat for your body and your goals. And once you like have that knowledge and that tool in your back pocket, that's what we help teach women. That's when you have the food freedom because you're like, I don't have to worry about the cupcake because I know it fits within my goals. And the rest of the time, I'm eating foods that are making me feel really good. So it's that balance.
That balance is so important. And I mean, so many women go through their whole life, dictating and restricting and not even seeing the benefits, just fearing that if they do have that, they're going to gain a bunch of weight and be unhappy. And I do think maybe we can tie this into metabolic flexibility because there's the mindset component of you have to free yourself out of that. And I truly have seen when people work on their mindset and nervous system regulation, they drop weight too, just when they release that fear and that constriction. And if people look at a bagel or a cupcake and gain 10 pounds, right? It's like there is an amount of metabolic flexibility that we need to kind of build in as well and get your body a little bit more in a healthy space to where you can eat more food and kind of go quotation off track and not have it affect you, right? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. And that kind of goes into the body fat set point conversation.
Yes.
But also, like, that's a good point that you make. And, oftentimes we think like when we're already restricting and we feel so restricted, then our thought process is, well, now I like, and I'm still blowing up like a balloon, or I still can't lose weight. Well, now I need to be even more restrictive then, or now I really can't back off the cardio because like then I'll like, oh my gosh, like what'll happen then? Like I'm
Mhm.
already being so restrictive. And really it's the opposite. Like you have down regulated that metabolism. You're now working in more dysfunction, higher stress. You've like jacked up your hormones and your energy. And it's all about that energy out equation, but it's not just that. And our metabolism isn't just like a calculator that's like, you know, yes, you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight or lose body fat. I don't think either of us will question that. Like that's the science, but there's so much more to your metabolism than calories in, calories out. And that's where even with body fat set point, I imagine, if anyone's been on a new, fitness or diet journey, anything like that, listening, you've probably felt like you have a set point, whether it's with how much food you can eat or a weight range that you can be within. So for
Mm-hmm.
most people, some people it's maybe they have a hard time actually building muscle or gaining weight.
Hmm.
That's the smaller crowd typically. The the majority is they feel like there's a body weight they can't get under. So maybe they're, let's say, 180 pounds and they can get down to 150, but once they get to 150, their goal weight's 130 and they can never seem to get down to that. It's like this set point that their body, they can lose that 30 pounds, get to 150. They might be able to maintain that for a little bit, but more than likely they're probably going to go back up to the 180. So that's where they feel like that's my body set point weight wise, which is not fun if your goal is the 130. Same thing can happen with your food and your calorie intake. So, on the flip side, that's where if you are, say eating 1,200 calories and you feel like you gain weight if you increase your calories. Like if I eat anything over 1,200, I'm going to blow up like a balloon or gain weight. That's like your calorie set point. And for most people, 1,200 calories is too low. And so your maintenance or how much you should be able to eat to maintain your weight and have a high functioning metabolism is probably a lot higher than that, but you've down regulated and now have this like new set point. So really what we want to do when we're looking at metabolism is how can we improve how much food you can eat, because the goal being let's try to quote unquote diet or get into our ideal body composition while eating as much food as possible, which is very counterintuitive
Oh,
to
yes.
diet culture. So, it's like it is a psychologically challenging for most women.
Mhm.
But that's where we want to start is like, okay, we need to focus on your metabolism to be able to help you eat more so that then when you are losing weight, you're losing the right kind of weight, AKA body fat, and not losing all your muscle along with that. Did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, man. I think we can talk about. I think so often when people are like, "I dropped 10 pounds this week," well, a lot of that's water and muscle, not fat to waste. Maybe a little bit, right? But scale weight and muscle and fat drop. Those are very different things. You're gonna look very different just dropping, you know, water
Yes.
weight or muscle weight versus fat, and I think the big question, everyone wants to know, so do we actually have a body set point? Is this real? Can we change it? What are the biggest things besides eating more, which is a big one that nobody wants to believe? What are some things that you can do to kind of metabolically shift that quotation set point?
Yeah. One is eating more, which is scary. Eating more consistently. So, some people might call that a reverse diet, where you are increasing calories intentionally back up. You don't want to just go balls to the walls eating burgers and fries to get there because you're
No.
probably not going to like the results of that. But that is one thing because what we need to do is we need to, when you are trying to lose body fat or reset that set point, is you need to phase your nutrition and your protocol. So what a lot of people try to do is they try to diet until they hit quote unquote goal weight and they end
Yep.
up plateauing. And
Yep.
so we need to go back and forth between what we call like our burn phase or fat loss phase and a boost phase or metabolism repair. And we need to phase your nutrition and your protocol to be able to get that new set point while keeping your metabolism happy. Because if we just pull off a bunch of weight and we don't do anything else for your metabolism, it's gonna rebound and you're gonna go back to where you were before. So it's really phasing your nutrition, phasing your training in between those phases of like, hey, a part of that's decreasing calories if you need to lose weight or body fat, but then getting your calories back up to that new maintenance and going back and forth between the two. So that's a huge component is the nutrition piece. And then
Mhm.
also like from the training and body composition side of things is also the muscle component too. So I will say for my journey, once I started focusing on muscle and strength, and also for ladies, you know, focusing on strength means building muscle. Like the stronger you are getting, that is a telltale sign that you are going to be putting on muscle as a result of that. And one thing I want to share too is you don't have to worry about getting bulky. There's no such thing as bulky muscle versus lean muscle. There's muscle hypertrophy or building muscle or muscle atrophy, having less muscle, having your muscle eat away at itself. And we want the hypertrophy to build or maintenance. So even in your fat loss phases, to keep a high metabolism, focusing on things like still fueling your body with enough food, enough protein, strength training, even in a fat loss phase is going to help hold on to as much muscle as possible. So you're losing the right kind of weight. And all of those things are going to help you maintain your new body fat set point. So phasing your protocol, focusing on muscle, and then also like not doing anything too restrictive with your nutrition when you are trying to lose body fat. It's going to feel like the longer journey in a sense when you're not, like you said, like I want to lose, or like think I should be able to lose 10 pounds in a week or 2 weeks. Realistically, losing maybe a half a pound to a pound and a half a week when you're in a fat loss phase. It's a much different way to look at it or think of it when you're used to doing more extreme or restrictive things. So it can feel like the longer process, but it's actually the fastest path to get you where you want to go because you're not going to have to keep starting over when you are focused on body fat set point. And I also can touch on too, like having an exit strategy out of that. But yeah, I'll, I'll
Well, we can chat exit strategy because I'm glad you brought up periodization or facing, right? That's the biggest mistake when I was running just a normal, health and fitness coaching program. It's like you know, 12 weeks is typically program time, 12 weeks, by 6 months. That is just enough to really either reverse diet you or to even just lose 10 pounds. Okay. But then after that, okay, whoopee, you did that. Congrats. But what's next? You have to have that exit strategy because the reason you keep losing and gaining the same weight isn't because your body has this quotation set point or you're broken. It's a fact your metabolism down regulates. Naturally, we want that to happen, but then you got to boost it back up again, right? And so that's the missing puzzle piece for so many people. It's like you lose the weight, but then we have to bring the metabolism back up. And you have to sit there for a hot second and then drop back into a fat loss phase again. Because if you don't do that, then you downregulate your thyroid, you downregulate your hormones, your sex hormones primarily, right? And then suddenly weight loss becomes a lot harder. And suddenly your insulin sensitivity is all wacky, your cortisol is high. And so, then it's like, oh, I suddenly have a hormone issue. No, you don't. You have a fact that you are under eating, you're eating 1,200 calories, your body's stressed, and you don't trust food again, right? Like, yes, you probably do have a hormone and thyroid issue, but that's not the root cause. The root cause is your body needs fuel, right? I'm sure you see that
yeah.
in many, many of your people, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. And like we talk about that often of like even some of the things like take hypothyroidism, like for instance, so many cases of hypothyroid now. I mean,
Oh,
I can't tell you how many women I talk to who they're like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm hypothyroid. I'm hypothyroid. I'm
oh,
hypothyroid. Say
yeah.
that 5 times fast. But but they, I'm like, which came first? I was actually interviewing another coach on my podcast recently, and she's hypothyroid, and she's like, oh, because I was like, which comes first though, the chicken or the egg? Like, did you have hypothyroid and that's impacted your, body composition and, fat loss efforts? Or was your efforts to lose body fat restrictively and in extreme ways, did that create your hypothyroid? And she's like, oh, I guarantee I know it was the latter. And
Yeah.
so it's like we have to be able to spend more time at maintenance and actually fueling our bodies. And to your point too, a lot of programs or diets or whatever, they're like 12 weeks or, these shorter time frames. I'm like, y'all, I can barely like sometimes get through a load of laundry in 12 weeks. Like that ain't no time at all. It's just like that's a set when you think 12 weeks. I know when you say 3 months, it sounds like, oh wow, that's a long time. It's not 12, that's 12 weeks. Like not much time. Even for 6 months, in a lot of my programs, I might start with six but really what I've been even leaning towards with clients, I started when I first started as a coach with a 12-week program. And I'm like, that's literally we're like dabbling our feet in the water. Like we're just barely scratching the surface. You might get some immediate results, but I was like, it's not enough to be able to sustain this after. And I don't want this to be just like another diet where I can get you results and you rebound right after this. So now I really try to be transparent with people. Like if you can commit to the next year of this, like you will look back on this last year of where you were a year ago and you'll be like, oh my gosh, wow. It's just
Mhm.
committing to yourself. Psychologically, I know that can be tough to think of like, oh
Uh-huh.
my gosh, that feels like a big commitment to make. But when you
Mhm.
think about how long you've been struggling with it,
Yeah.
it's no time at all. For most women, it's at least a couple years, if not since they were 13 years old. Like
Hmm.
long time. So I'm like, it's a drop in the bucket, right?
Hmm.
And it's not that you're not going to see results before a
Right.
year goes by. You're going to start to see results earlier on, but it's like actually being able to sustain it and keep it. And that's where the exit strategy comes in. And what most diets won't talk to you about is, teaching that role of transitioning out of your deficit if that's what you were in. Most people say like, yay, I lost the weight, now I can resume my normal life. And like I'm really happy with my results. Like, so they quit the diet and then they regain the weight, sometimes fast, sometimes
Yeah.
slowly over time. Actually, the client I was sharing, who's 65, who was with us for a year, she did Optavia before our program, lost 25 pounds, and she was like, actually kept it off for a few years. But I was like, well, then what happened after a few years? She was like, well, here I am now. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, also, I was so restrictive and extreme. I know I lost a lot of muscle during that time. And something she shared with me was like, she said in quotes, like, what's even the point if you have no strength left when you lose the weight? And I'm like, that's a very valid point. And she's like, I want to be strong for my kids and my grandkids. She has one who's handicapped, and she's 13 years old, one of her grandkids. And she's like, I can now at 65 pick her up out of the floor. Like, that is such, she's like, it's like those things. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's where, even with my passion or mission behind this is like, it's not just, yes, looking great in a bikini is like a very fun thing, great
Mhm.
confidence boost. But it's like, it's that, like being able to pick up your 13-year-old grandchild who can't pick
Mhm.
herself up out of the floor. Like it's those things that it's really the health and longevity aspect too. But back to the exit strategy, even if they weren't doing a crazy diet, but let's just say they were in a calorie deficit or they lost the weight, you still have to do work after that to make sure that you can maintain the weight loss and that body composition. So the work isn't done. And that's where I say, I'm like, even with a 6 month program, that's only 24 weeks. And so if you have a 25-pound weight loss goal, that's pretty much going to take that whole time. But a couple
Mhm.
things. One, your metabolism might not be ready for a fat loss phase right away. So that's more time on the front end
Yep.
before we can start a fat loss phase. And then the back end of sustaining it after. And then even in the middle of losing the weight, you, for most people, I'm like, if you have more than 15 pounds to lose, we may not even want or be able to do it in one fell swoop. We might need to phase it and do the periodization of pulling you in a fat loss phase, bringing you back to maintenance, pulling you in a fat loss phase, bringing you back to maintenance. So it's like these reasons why people feel like they have a quote unquote body fat set point, like some number they can't get under, or some, weight number they can't get under, or some calorie number they can't go above. But it's really just because they're not fueling their metabolism and they're not eating to support whatever they want that new set point to be. So we're stuck in this like really, you could, maybe it's not full binging, but like binging or normal living versus restricting cycle
Well, I
that
think that's
keeps
too
us
with the
stuck.
Optavia thing is like, when somebody does a diet, oh, I did keto and I it worked for me and I kept the weight off. It's like, did you keep the weight off because you were still eating 800 calories a day, and 1,000 calories a day? Because yes, you can, right? Your metabolism downregulates. You still eat that same amount. Yes, you can. And is that the way you want to live, right? And I think what people also don't understand is muscle. You burn more calories at rest when you have more muscle. So you want to have a higher set point. You want to burn more calories at rest. You actually need muscle to do that. Your muscle, like your body will literally become more metabolically active and more fired up just sitting there burning more calories when you have more muscle by not even doing anything, right? But people don't want to get bulky and they don't want to, do the workouts because they're scared, that they're gonna put on too much muscle. I was like, and then it's so funny. They'll be like, Shannon, I want to look like you. I'm like, I work at the time, work out 5 days a week, like on weight train 4 days, 4 or 5 of those days, right? And they're like, oh, okay. But
Oh.
it's like, I don't want to get bulky. I think you can speak to that a little bit, right? I mean, you have fantastic arms, like total goal arms, but a lot of people might look at you and say, well, I don't want to get like that. I don't want to grow so much muscle. I'm like, I wish I could grow that. I'm trying to grow that muscle. Like it ain't that easy where you just pick up a 5 pound weight and you know,
Yes.
maybe you
Oh,
can
when
speak to
someone says that, if they're, I have had a few women, usually they're all a little bit in older generations, but they're like, I want to build muscle and I want to get lean, and I think you're so beautiful, but I don't really want as much muscle as you. And I'm like, don't worry, you won't. Like, that's
it doesn't happen by accident. Like,
yeah, I'm like, don't worry, you're not gonna Hulk up overnight. Like, that's just not a thing. And if it was, like, every guy out there who wishes they could bulk up would be a big muscular dude. Like, it's just not that easy. And I always say, like, if you can focus on muscle, you will literally change your life with weight loss and fat loss, really body recomposition, not looking at the weight loss piece, it's fat loss. Because if we could spend more time focusing on muscle, it is so metabolically active. And so, like, it just helps you be able to eat more. It helps that food freedom thing, be able to maintain, like, your body is responds to carbs better. It helps in every sense of the word. Dr. Gabrielle Lyons, she's actually like a huge proponent she speaks very highly of just like women and focusing on building muscle. So I love her whole stance around that. But you will not get bulky. And that's where, like, even if, okay, let's say you do have a certain physique or you're like, yeah, I don't want that upper body or that much muscle or whatever. You can very much control that, and it's not going to be an overnight process. Like, there's so many things within your control. And I would almost say, like, I um I bet you that you, like, go try, basically, like, go see what you can do, like, just it's much more challenging and takes a much longer time than what most people think. And oftentimes I also hear, I want to lose the weight and then build
ah,
muscle.
mm,
Yeah. And
good
I'm
one.
like, that's actually going to help your weight loss efforts if you can improve your metabolism, burn more, and it's going to help you maintain a higher set point with your calories if you
Mhm.
have that muscle mass on your frame. So, that's where I really encourage people to focus on body composition changes versus just weight loss. Like,
Mhm.
honestly, if the scale is even like a hiccup for you, I almost say, like, don't even weigh yourself. I do think it can be another helpful metric when used the right way. But tracking metrics beyond the scale, like your strength, your energy levels, your body composition, if you have access to something like a DEXA scan or even an in-body, that's great, but not even necessary. Like,
Yeah.
progress pictures are the best.
Mhm.
I would even say for the women who have told you too, Shannon, like, oh, like, I want to look like you and, like, you're so muscular and whatever. And I don't know if you experienced this, but when I, like, started actually getting more lean muscular arms and got more compliments or comments on my physique, I was like, little do they know that half of my shirts don't fit around my biceps
Yep.
anymore.
Mhm.
And so if someone is coming, and I work with people that are coming from for more so like body fat loss versus body recomposition, but a lot of women who are like have that quote unquote 10 to 15 pounds they think they need to
Mhm.
lose. And if I told them and they're coming like, I want to look like you, and I've told them, well, your shirts might actually fit a little tighter, it'd be like, wait, well, that's going the opposite direction. And it's like, so because we still have this mindset of just being our smallest, like, small is better. But I can tell you, when I had arms probably half the circumference of what they are now, I never got a compliment on my arms because I had, like, skinny noodle arms. I had
Mhm.
very, very little muscle mass under there. So they were very noodly and soft looking, which is
Noodle.
fine. And little, my spaghetti arms. And that was in my restricting binging days when I was like, why can't I look more fit? I work out so much.
That was my
Um,
life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like, but it's not just the physique. One, you can control that. Like, you're not going to blow up like the Hulk. But then also muscle is just so such a health marker too. And even for those
Mm-hmm.
things like the longevity aspect of, do you want to be able to have the strength to stand up out of a chair without support when you're older? Like it's just so important. So it's like, yes, the superficial is there, which I'm here for the superficial. Like because I think how you show up with confidence, like if you feel confident in your body and yourself, that reflects in your everyday life. But it's more than that too. I'm like, I don't want to be on medication when I'm older. I want to be able to go on a hike with my grandkids or whatever. It's those
Mm-hmm.
things. And like focusing on muscle is hands down one of the best things you could do for your body fat set point and just your overall health and body composition.
Hands down, hands down. I remember when I got chronically ill too and couldn't even walk on my own. I just remember, thank God I have muscle to use my arms for this. Thank God I can go and do this because I still have strength in my legs. And it was just like, it's just muscle is so much more than just how you look.
Well, and you were probably really thankful too that you'd started with a certain amount because I'm sure you lost some in
100%.
certain, like especially lower half and stuff
Yep.
where because you had to use your upper body so much. So like starting out is it's also like insurance for something like that where you're like, I'm starting from this place of this much strength. And if I have to
Mhm.
tap into that because I have a surgery or an illness or
Yep.
whatever, I still have a certain level of strength
Yep.
versus completely depleted.
Well, pregnancy will do that too, because you're gonna naturally lose a little bit, and then if you breastfeed too, you're gonna lose your butt. I'm sorry, just a little bit. Pregnancy butt, we could have a whole nother podcast on. Um,
Oh, I can already see the muscle mass loss. And I'm like, that is just so, it's so crazy. But also I'm like, okay, how much of the butt part is because even during pregnancy, I'm like, is because your belly is just like now getting so big, it's like makes your butt look smaller, or is it really getting that much smaller?
oh, kind of a little bit of both. I mean, your nutrients get shuttled to the like the baby, and it doesn't care how good your ass looks. But
Yeah, yeah. So unfortunate. So unfortunate.
unfortunate. But insurance is kind of a thing, right? Like whether you want
Yeah.
to look better, feel better, or frick. I mean, GLP-1s are a big thing. You want to stimulate that a little more, have more muscle mass, and
Yep.
take. But it is so important, to build that lean muscle mass.
Well, even that, I will say, like, I'm so thankful I started out, which is funny because we had a prior miscarriage, for your listeners who don't know that already. And so
Mhm.
I was like, after that, you could call it a midlife crisis. I got a puppy. I moved across the country. I was like, I'm going to get the leanest, best shape of my life ever. And, just like, raw. So anyway, we're here. But I was like, man, I felt like I was even like leaner and more shredded and more strong and just like I was killing it.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, I'm like, oh, and then I got pregnant again. I'm like, oh, well, there we go. But I'm like so glad that I didn't need to start from that, that strong of a place, right? But like that I had the strength built up for my pregnancy because I already am. I'm still working out consistently. I'm trying to eat mostly nutrient dense whole foods. We're probably more in the like 70-30 or 60-40 a lot of days. We're eating a lot of whipped cream and cereal, but, still trying to prioritize protein and, whole foods. But even with doing those things, I'm like, I'm now to a point where I can't do pull-ups anymore because I'm coning every time I do a pull-up. So I'm like, okay, I've got to adjust stuff. But I'm like, thank goodness I started out at a certain point and level. And so also speaking to anyone listening who's pregnant or maybe going to be getting pregnant soon and you're thinking, what's the point?
Oh
Start
my God.
with that body fat set point higher, or
Mhm.
in your calorie set point, all that higher, because it's only going to serve you for a stronger pregnancy and postpartum recovery too.
And
So,
postpartum. Yep. That's people are like, wow, you bounced back so quickly. No, I worked out 3 times a week. I walked my steps in. I ate highly anti-inflammatory, ate the right amount of foods. My body wasn't stressed out, right? It's like, so maybe there's a little bit of luck to that, but
yeah, yeah. Well, that's where I'm like, oh, I cannot stand the bounce back culture because I'm like, one, I
yeah.
worked hard for this because I'm like, I worked hard before getting pregnant. I worked
Yep.
hard while I was pregnant. I'll work hard after but also if I don't bounce back, that's okay too. Like, don't
Okay.
project your expectation of bouncing back on me. I've had so many, people say it encouraging. They're like, you're fit, you'll bounce back. And I'm like,
All the
that's not
time.
my primary job after having my baby. So
I love when people say that too. It's like, wait a minute, but that wasn't a concern. Like, I love
yeah,
like, don't worry. It's like I wasn't actually. Like,
I, I know I'm like, I literally didn't mention it at all. And you're like, don't worry, go bounce back. I'm like, what?
yeah. People love projecting their own thoughts about
Yeah.
pregnancy and all as
Yeah.
you are experiencing at this moment.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so it's a fun one. Nothing exposes, I feel like, things deeper than people going through pregnancy and postpartum.
Oh,
Oh,
no, you're absolutely right.
oh. Well, this has been, I feel like we've gotten so many good little nuggets on so many different things. I think if you want to kind of wrap things up with, if you have somebody that's maybe feeling a little stuck, sticky, maybe has this closed mindset around, what their body's capable of doing, what's one or two things you would kind of tell them to just gently shift that in their mind for them?
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing, hire someone like Shannon or a coach or something, someone to help you along this journey. I don't even just say that as a coach. I'm like, I know Shannon, you've had coaches, I have coaches.
Yep.
Whether it's a coach or just surround yourself with a community,
Yep.
accountability, support is so helpful. We were not meant to do life by ourselves or on our own. So if you are feeling stuck, that's a great place to start. There's so much information out there on Google, but that only takes you so far sometimes. I mean, even listening to podcasts like this or my own, like
Mhm.
it's still figuring out what applies to you and what to prioritize for you and simplifying things. So that's where I would start is especially a lot of the women I talk with are very type A. I imagine a lot of the women who will be listening to this are probably
Yes.
very type A. And we think that more is better, or we are trying to do too many things. And so you may just need to simplify things. You might actually need to take things off your plate or,
Yes.
replace things, whatever. But simplify could be actually what you need to do and focus on the big rocks. And then also just recognizing too, like I said, tracking metrics beyond the scale, and then recognizing when adjustments are needed to continue progress versus being patient
Oof.
and giving your body time to actually adapt to the changes that you've made. Because again, we live in a here and now Amazon culture of we order it today, it's here tomorrow. We start a diet or a program, we expect results tomorrow, and your body just doesn't work like that. So if you can just give yourself time and extend out that time horizon of when you think results should come, you might actually be on the right path, but you just haven't been patient enough. So first, make sure you're doing the right thing. If you need to work with someone to help you figure that out, do that. And then, you know, track your metrics, track your biofeedback, track things so you can know, okay, do I need to make adjustments or not, or do I just need to be patient and stay the course?
That patience part is really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'm
that's
not
really
great. I'm not good at it.
nobody is. You're
Yeah.
like, you gotta get here, but you're gonna actually, it's gonna take twice as long. It's
Yeah.
it's a tough
Well,
one.
it's funny, like any business coaches, they'll compare. It's so like finances and business and fitness, like any analogies you use could apply to any of those things. So it's so hilarious when, even for myself or working with business coaches, I'm like, oh my gosh. Or like, and they're like, literally apply it to a fitness analogy of what do you tell your clients? Like,
Oh,
and a lot of it has to do with patience. I'm like, okay, you're right.
yep.
I can
I always
stop
say
freaking
for
out.
clients, it's like you're planting the seed, you're watering the seed. It's got to grow, but you got to give it time, keep watering it, but you can't see it. It's under the ground. So it's something is happening. It's building roots. It's growing out and it's there. You just can't see it to the eye, so you don't think it's happening. So we need that like logical like belief. It's like just keep going, keep going. The more you water it, then you see that little sprout and there's that like little glimmer of hope. You're like, oh, and then suddenly you have this big, beautiful tulip or whatever. And so it's like it's spring here right now. So,
Yeah.
tulip tree, whatever, and it's like, had you just given up and said, screw it and stopped watering it, it would have died. And, nothing would have, that's what it'd be a little dramatic, but, it wouldn't have grown. And so it's like, you have to remember that sometimes like there is stuff happening beneath the surface on a metabolic level that will show up on the physical level if you give it time, patience, and a little love and the right approach.
Yes. That's like one of my favorite analogies or quotes. Like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 5 years ago, because it'll
Yep.
be blooming now. But when's the second best time is today, because then
Yep.
5 years from today, it'll be blooming. And that's
Mhm.
another, that would be my last tidbit is to not compare yourself to someone else's tree,
Mhm.
because you don't know when they planted that seed. So that's another biggie is like you might think that you're not progressing at the speed that you quote unquote should, but there is
Yeah.
no should. Like your journey is different than the next woman's. And like there is no rate that you should be progressing. And you don't know how long they've been working on those things. So, one, don't compare yourself. And then two, also be real with yourself. If you're putting in 50% effort and the chick next to you is putting in 95% effort, who's going to get quicker results? Right. So, I'm like, truth and grace too. You got to be truthful with yourself, but also extend grace as well for where you're at.
Oh, ain't that the truth? I think it's hard because we feel like we're doing all of the things, but it's really rooted in nervous system dysregulation where you feel like you're doing a lot more, but what you really need to be doing is one, maybe less, but two, just like it's not about the thinking and the ruminating, all the things that are in here. It's like, what are we doing? And is that doing also counterproductive too? So, but yeah, yeah, you also have to
Yes.
put in the work, just
There's
hiring
that.
hiring a coach and then just thinking, well, it didn't happen. I mean, I hate people might laugh at this, but that's true. How many people have hired you and just been like, wait a minute, I didn't lose the
Yep.
weight. Well, but I ate a salad and I worked out a few times and, I did what you said. It's like
Yep.
maybe. And you have to do it more consistently and more than you think, because that's the reason you're staying stuck, right?
Yep.
It's like, you have to just do things more consistently for, give your body that time. I'm not trying to diss
Yep.
anybody. It's just the reality when you've worked with thousands of women over the years, you see some patterns. So,
Yes. Well, and I find that either they fall on that side where it's like you really weren't as consistent as long as and patient and consistent long enough to see the
mhm.
results, or like we talked about before, you're doing too much. Like Shannon and I were just talking before recording, like things even in my own life or business and stuff. Like what are do I even need to have some of these things in here? What can I pull out? And like talking about the system dysregulation and stuff. Like
Oh yeah.
where can I pour my energy that's going to be the most beneficial? And where can I
Mhm.
conserve my energy? Yeah.
As your body's stressed out, and that's the reason it doesn't want to change too, because it's doing too much. We won't
Doing too
get
much.
time to do this, but if you want to listen to things about boundaries, nervous system regulation, I got you on another episode. But it is true, and it's important to understand all of that too. Is like sometimes stepping back is the bravest thing that you can do and the most metabolically
Mm,
healthy. It's not always what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right. It's how aligned does your body feel, and does it just need a little bit of a break? You know.
hmm
So.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, it is. We've this topic was so great, or topics, I should say. We dived into a lot
Covered
of
a
things
lot.
here. Please let us know where we can find you.
Yes. So you can find me at Fitness Uncharted on Instagram, TikTok, social media. And then my podcast is the Muscle Makeover, and that's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. She's the muscle queen over here. Um,
I
so
appreciate you saying that, especially right now being pregnant, when I'm like, I don't feel like that.
your whole identity shifts a little bit.
A little
Yeah.
bit, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, but you are gorgeous and beautiful, and I still wish I could have your arms even.
Thanks,
But
girl.
thank you for coming on the show. If you guys thought this was helpful, I would love to know if something resonated with you. Share it with somebody that, could use this little pep talk. And definitely go check out our podcast as well if you want a little bit more in-depth knowledge on all things, muscle, metabolism, and mindset. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.